The library's vast interior seemed to breathe, its dusty air alive with the soft rustle of pages turning and the faint whisper of secrets long forgotten. Isabella Thorne moved through its labyrinthine corridors with practiced ease, her fingers trailing along the spines of ancient tomes as if drawing strength from their stories. The light filtering through stained glass windows cast a kaleidoscope of colors on her path, each step echoing softly on the worn wooden floors. Isabella had always felt at home here, surrounded by the comforting presence of books that promised escape and enlightenment. Yet beneath this solace lay a tension that gnawed at her, a sense that the library held more than just stories. It was a place where shadows moved with purpose, and the air hummed with a magic that was both alluring and unsettling. "Lost in thought again, Isabella?" The voice startled her, pulling her back to the present. She turned to see Lucian Thorne, the enigmatic bookseller, leaning casually against a nearby shelf. His eyes, sharp and discerning, seemed to pierce through the veil of reality. "Lucian," she greeted, masking her surprise with a smile. "I didn't hear you come in." He shrugged, a hint of amusement playing at the corners of his lips. "Old habits die hard. I find it best to tread lightly in places where stories live." Isabella nodded, understanding all too well. Lucian was a man who moved between the shadows of Luminara with an ease that suggested he belonged to them. His presence in the library was both comforting and disconcerting, as if he were a part of its very essence. "What brings you here today?" she asked, curious about his intentions. "I came to see how you were faring," he replied, his gaze thoughtful. "And perhaps to offer a riddle or two." She chuckled softly, accustomed to his cryptic ways. "A riddle? I'm not sure I'm ready for another puzzle." "Ah, but that's the beauty of riddles," Lucian said, his voice laced with mystery. "They reveal truths hidden beneath layers of perception." Isabella considered his words, knowing there was wisdom in them. She had spent countless nights pondering the enigmas of her own life, the ghostly presence of her grandmother, the weight of unspoken secrets, and yet answers remained elusive. "Have you seen Elias?" Lucian asked suddenly, shifting the conversation. "Elias?" Her heart skipped at the mention of his name. "Not today. Why?" Lucian's expression remained inscrutable. "He's been sketching again, capturing things most cannot see." Isabella felt a familiar pull at her core, a mixture of intrigue and apprehension. Elias was unlike anyone she had ever met, an artist whose work seemed to bridge the gap between reality and dream. His sketches revealed glimpses of spirits that wandered Luminara, their ethereal forms caught in strokes of charcoal and ink. "I'd like to see his latest work," she admitted, her curiosity piqued. "You should," Lucian agreed. "But be wary, Isabella. Art can reveal as much as it conceals." She nodded, understanding the warning behind his words. In Luminara, nothing was ever as it seemed. Their conversation was interrupted by a distant sound, a soft sigh that drifted through the library like a breeze. Isabella felt a chill run down her spine, recognizing it as the spectral presence of her grandmother. "Isabella?" Lucian said gently, sensing her unease. "You are not alone in this." She met his gaze, grateful for his presence, even as she grappled with the ghosts of her past. "Thank you, Lucian." With a nod, he turned to leave, disappearing into the shadows with the same quiet grace he had arrived. Left alone once more, Isabella gathered her thoughts and headed towards the reading room where Elias often worked. Her steps quickened with anticipation, driven by the need to see him and the art that bound them together. The reading room was bathed in golden light when she entered, dust motes dancing in the sunbeams like tiny stars. Elias sat at a table near the window, engrossed in his sketchbook. His dark hair fell across his forehead as he worked, oblivious to her approach. "Elias," she called softly. He looked up, surprise giving way to warmth as he recognized her. "Isabella." She moved closer, drawn by an invisible thread that connected them. "Lucian mentioned you've been busy." Elias gestured to his sketches scattered across the table, images of Luminara's streets infused with an otherworldly glow. "I've been trying to capture what lies beneath the surface," he explained. "The spirits that linger between worlds." His voice held a reverence that resonated with Isabella's own understanding of magic and memory. She studied one of his drawings, an ethereal figure poised at the edge of a cobblestone street, its form shimmering like a mirage. "It's beautiful," she murmured, feeling an inexplicable connection to the art before her. "Thank you," Elias replied, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart race. They stood in silence for a moment, words unnecessary in the space they shared. There was something unspoken between them, a bond forged through shared experiences and whispered secrets. "Elias," Isabella began hesitantly, "do you ever wonder if we're meant to uncover these mysteries? Or if we're simply chasing shadows?" He considered her question thoughtfully. "Perhaps both," he said finally. "In understanding what haunts us, we might find what sets us free." His response stirred something deep within her, a flicker of hope amidst uncertainty. She realized then that their journey through Luminara was not just about solving riddles or confronting ghosts. It was about discovering themselves and each other in ways they never imagined. As they continued to talk, their conversation flowed like a river weaving through hidden valleys and secret groves. Each word brought them closer to unraveling truths buried beneath layers of fear and desire. Yet even as they spoke, Isabella could feel the weight of unseen forces pressing against them, the shadows lurking just beyond reach. She knew their path would not be easy. Danger awaited those who dared challenge Luminara's secrets. But in Elias's presence, she found strength she never knew she possessed, a courage born from love's power to transcend boundaries and reshape reality itself. And so, as day turned into night and lanterns cast their otherworldly glow upon Luminara's streets once more, Isabella felt ready to face whatever lay ahead, armed with newfound resolve and guided by the light within her heart. The sun dipped below the jagged peaks that cradled Luminara, casting the city in a warm, golden glow that seemed to ignite the cobblestones beneath Isabella's feet. She moved with purpose through the winding streets, her thoughts a tangled web of questions and half-formed answers. The whispers of forgotten magic lingered in the air, brushing against her skin like a lover's caress. Isabella paused at the edge of the market square, where the vibrant colors of the day faded into the muted hues of twilight. Stalls were being dismantled, their owners exchanging weary smiles and parting words. She watched as a gust of wind carried the scent of spices and freshly baked bread, mingling with the salty tang of the sea. It was a moment suspended in time, where the ordinary and extraordinary embraced in a gentle waltz. Her reverie was broken by the sound of laughter, a bright melodic peal that drew her gaze to a nearby fountain. There, beneath the watchful eyes of stone cherubs, stood Lucian Thorne. His presence was as enigmatic as ever, his silver hair catching the fading light like strands of moonlight woven into darkness. He turned to her with a smile that held secrets untold. "Isabella," he greeted, his voice smooth and inviting. "I see you found your way back to us." She approached him with a cautious smile, her heart quickening at his familiar warmth. "It's hard to stay away," she admitted. "Luminara has a way of calling you back, doesn't it?" Lucian nodded, his eyes glinting with knowing amusement. "This city is alive with stories waiting to be told, and you, my dear, are one of its finest narrators." They walked together along the cobblestone path that led away from the square, their footsteps echoing softly in the growing dusk. Isabella felt an ease in Lucian's presence that belied the weight of her burdens. Here was a man who understood the dance between light and shadow, who saw beyond the veil of reality and into the heart of Luminara's mysteries. "Have you spoken to Elias?" Lucian asked, his tone casual yet probing. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her features. "Not since our last encounter in the library," she confessed. "He's different." "Different can be intriguing," Lucian mused, a hint of mischief in his voice. "And sometimes it is precisely what we need to unravel the threads that bind us." Isabella considered his words as they continued their leisurely stroll. The air around them shimmered with an ethereal luminescence, casting soft shadows that danced at their feet. She thought of Elias, the brooding artist whose sketches captured the unseen spirits of Luminara. Their connection was undeniable, yet fraught with complexities she struggled to comprehend. "Lucien," she began hesitantly, "do you believe in destiny?" His laughter was a low rumble, resonant and rich. "Destiny is but another thread in the tapestry of life. Whether we choose to follow it or weave our own paths is entirely up to us." She pondered this as they arrived at Thorne's Tomes and Curiosities, Lucian's shop nestled in a shadowed alleyway off the main thoroughfare. Its unassuming exterior belied the wonders within, a labyrinth of ancient tomes and forgotten scrolls that whispered tales of magic and mystery. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of aged parchment and leather bindings, creating an atmosphere both comforting and mysterious. Isabella felt at home here, surrounded by the stories that had shaped her life and those yet to be discovered. Lucian moved behind the counter with practiced ease, retrieving a small package wrapped in brown paper. He handed it to her with a conspiratorial wink. "For you," he said simply. She unwrapped it carefully, revealing a slender volume bound in deep blue leather. Its title, embossed in gold, read, "Echoes of Lost Souls." "What's this?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "A gift," Lucian replied enigmatically. "Or perhaps a guide." Isabella traced her fingers over the book's cover, feeling its weight and significance settle into her hands. She knew better than to question Lucian's intentions outright. His riddles often held truths not immediately apparent. As she tucked the volume under her arm, she felt a shift in the air, a subtle change that signaled an approaching storm. The city outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something unseen yet inevitable. "Thank you," she said softly, meeting Lucian's gaze with gratitude tinged with apprehension. "Remember," he murmured, "the past is but a whisper compared to the roar of what lies ahead." With those words echoing in her mind, Isabella stepped back into the twilight-draped streets of Luminara. The city seemed to pulse around her, alive with possibilities and perils she could not yet fathom. As night descended like a velvet cloak, lanterns flickered to life along the cobblestone paths, casting pools of luminescence that guided her steps. The restless sea sang its haunting lullaby to the moonlit shore, while shadows danced in time with an unseen rhythm. Isabella's heart was a tempest, a swirl of emotions that defied simple explanation. She thought of Elias once more. Their encounters had sparked an unexpected romance, filled with tension that crackled like fire on a winter's night. Yet beneath their connection lay an undercurrent she could not ignore, the specters of their pasts and enigmatic forces that bound them together, against all reason. The night held promises unspoken, of truth and deception intertwined like threads in a tapestry woven by fate itself. As she made her way through Luminara's labyrinthine streets toward home, a place where dreams blurred into reality, Isabella knew one thing for certain: the echoes of lost souls would guide her steps forward into realms unknown, a journey fraught with danger, but illuminated by love's enduring light. The sun dipped low over Luminara, casting elongated shadows that danced along the cobblestone streets. The air carried the scent of salt from the restless sea, mingling with the fragrance of jasmine that clung to the ivy-clad walls. Isabella moved through the city like a wraith, her thoughts as tangled as the labyrinthine alleys she traversed. Her destination was Thorn's Tomes and Curiosities, a sanctuary of secrets hidden within a shadowed alleyway. As she approached, the simple wooden sign creaked in the evening breeze, and the shop's heavy oak door opened with a low groan, as if welcoming her into its embrace. Inside, the world seemed to shift. Time slowed to a languid pace, allowing Isabella to breathe in the scent of aged parchment and leather bindings. Dust motes floated lazily in the dim light, creating a dreamlike atmosphere that blurred the lines between reality and imagination. Lucian Thorn stood behind the counter, his piercing eyes watching her with an intensity that both unnerved and intrigued her. His silver hair caught the light, giving him an ethereal quality that was both otherworldly and grounding. "Isabella," he greeted, his voice a smooth blend of warmth and mystery. "What truths do you seek today?" She hesitated, words caught in her throat like autumn leaves caught in a breeze. There was so much she wanted to ask, yet where to begin? "Truths," she echoed softly, stepping closer to the counter. "I feel as if I'm surrounded by them, yet they slip through my fingers like sand." Lucian nodded, his expression contemplative. Truth is often elusive, like shadows dancing at the edge of light. Their conversation paused as Isabella considered his words. In Luminara, where magic intertwined with the mundane, such riddles felt more like revelations than obfuscations. "And Elias?" Lucian inquired, his tone shifting slightly. "Does he still capture spirits with his art?" Isabella smiled despite herself. "He does. His sketches seem to breathe with life, as if they might step off the page at any moment." Lucian's eyes gleamed with a knowing light. Art has a way of capturing what lies beyond sight, much like love. The mention of love sent a ripple through Isabella's heart, a mix of warmth and uncertainty. Her connection with Elias was unlike anything she'd known, filled with tension and unspoken promises. Yet it also held an edge of danger, much like dancing on the precipice of a dream. "What is it about Luminara," Isabella mused aloud, "that makes everything feel so alive?" Lucian leaned forward, his gaze searching hers. "This city is woven from stories. Each street, each stone holds memories of those who walked before us. Magic here is not just an enchantment, but a legacy." A silence fell between them, pregnant with possibility and unspoken questions. Isabella glanced around the shop, her eyes tracing the spines of books that whispered of forgotten realms and hidden truths. "Sometimes I wonder," she said quietly, "if the city's magic is a blessing or a curse." Lucian's smile was enigmatic. "Perhaps it is both. Magic is neither good nor evil. It simply is. How we choose to wield it defines its nature." Isabella nodded, absorbing his words. She thought of her grandmother's ghostly presence and the stories that lingered in her dreams, tales of love and loss that felt achingly real. "Thank you," she murmured, turning to leave. But as she reached the door, Lucian's voice stopped her. "Remember," he said softly, "the dance between light and shadow is eternal. Embrace it." With those words echoing in her mind, Isabella stepped back into the twilight-lit streets of Luminara. The city pulsed with life around her, each heartbeat synchronizing with her own. As she wandered toward the market square, she spotted Elias standing beneath a street lamp that cast an ethereal glow over his features. His presence was magnetic. Even from a distance, she felt drawn to him like a moth to flame. "Elias!" she called out as she approached. He turned, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that sent a shiver down her spine. There was something about him, an understanding that transcended words. "Isabella," he replied, his voice carrying warmth and mystery alike. "Did Lucian offer any new riddles?" She laughed softly, shaking her head. "Only truths disguised as riddles." They walked side by side through the bustling square where merchants hawked their wares amidst a symphony of laughter and haggling. The air buzzed with energy, a palpable reminder of life's vibrancy even under the shadow of oppression. "Do you ever wonder," Elias began thoughtfully, "why we are drawn together in this city, as if some unseen force guides our steps?" Isabella considered this for a moment before answering. "Perhaps it's because we see what others don't, the magic hidden beneath the surface." Elias nodded slowly. "And yet," he added with a hint of wistfulness, "the more we uncover about Luminara's secrets, the more elusive they become." Their conversation lapsed into silence as they continued walking through streets lit by lanterns casting pools of luminescence on cobblestones worn smooth by time. Eventually reaching an ivy-clad courtyard tucked away from prying eyes, a place where jasmine-scented air mingled with whispers carried on gentle breezes, they paused beneath starlit skies. Here, amidst twinkling constellations, mirrored by distant waves crashing against rocky shores, lay Solace, a moment suspended between reality and dreams, where possibilities stretched endlessly before them, like paths waiting to be explored hand in hand. In this quiet sanctuary, away from watchful eyes, lay space for vulnerability, a chance for hearts guarded against hurt yet yearning for connection, to find common ground amidst uncertainty born from past wounds, healed only partially by time's passage alone. As night deepened around them, like velvet draped across sky's canvas, painted anew, each dusk anew, each dawn anew, each heartbeat shared anew, each breath taken anew. A decision lingered unspoken but understood, to face whatever lay ahead together, embracing both light's promise and shadow's challenge, forging bonds forged stronger than steel tempered by fire, fueled not only by desire, but also hope and courage and trust, for within Luminara, where magic danced eternally amongst echoes lost yet found again. Love, too, held power capable reshaping realities, transcending boundaries once thought insurmountable. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow over Luminara as Isabella made her way through the cobblestone streets. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine, and the distant cry of seagulls mingled with the rhythmic crashing of waves against the shore. Her steps were purposeful, yet her mind wandered, caught in a web of thoughts spun from the threads of fate. Isabella's destination was Thorn's Tomes and Curiosities, a place that had become a second home to her. The shop was nestled in a narrow alleyway, its wooden sign swaying gently in the breeze. As she approached, the door swung open with a soft creak, welcoming her into the dimly lit sanctuary. Lucian Thorne stood behind the counter, his eyes as sharp as ever, their depths suggesting secrets untold. He looked up from a stack of aged parchments, a smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Ah, Isabella," he greeted, his voice like velvet wrapped around steel. "What brings you to my humble abode on this fine afternoon?" She returned his smile, a flicker of warmth cutting through her earlier reverie. "I was hoping you could help me with something," she replied, her words carrying an undercurrent of urgency. Lucian gestured toward a small table, tucked away in a corner, where two worn leather chairs faced each other. "Let's talk," he said simply, leading her to the secluded spot. As they settled into their seats, Isabella couldn't help but feel the weight of the shop's atmosphere pressing down on her. It was as if the very walls were listening, eager to absorb whatever truths might spill forth. "I'm searching for a book," Isabella began, her fingers tracing absent patterns on the tabletop. "One that might hold answers about the city's magic and my family's past." Lucian leaned back in his chair, his gaze never leaving hers. "You seek what many have sought before you," he mused, his tone both teasing and somber. "But tell me, Isabella, do you truly wish to uncover these secrets? Once revealed, they cannot be hidden again." She hesitated, the specter of doubt whispering in her ear, yet beneath it all lay a resolve that had grown stronger with each passing day. "I need to know," she admitted softly, "for myself and for those who came before me." Lucian nodded thoughtfully, his expression inscrutable. "Very well," he said at last. "There is a tome, an ancient ledger known only to a few. It is said to contain the names and stories of those who have shaped Luminara's history." His words hung in the air like smoke, curling around them both. Isabella felt a shiver run down her spine, a mixture of anticipation and dread. "Where can I find it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lucian's eyes gleamed with an enigmatic light. "It resides in a place where shadows dance and time stands still, a hidden chamber within the library itself." The revelation struck Isabella like a bolt of lightning. Her grandmother had often spoken of secret rooms within the library's depths, but she had always dismissed them as fanciful tales meant to entertain a child. "Thank you," she breathed, gratitude mingling with determination. Lucian inclined his head slightly. "Remember, Isabella," he cautioned gently. "Every thread you pull may unravel another. Be prepared for what you might discover." With those parting words echoing in her mind, Isabella left the shop, stepping back into the labyrinthine streets of Luminara. The city seemed to pulse with life around her, its magic woven into every stone and shadow. Her path led her inevitably to the library, a grand edifice draped in ivy and history. As she crossed its threshold, the familiar scent of parchment and leather enveloped her like an embrace. Navigating the winding corridors with practiced ease, Isabella found herself drawn to an alcove bathed in colored light from a stained glass window. Here she paused, allowing herself a moment of reflection before embarking on her search for the hidden chamber. It was then that Elias appeared, a presence as unexpected as it was welcome. His arrival seemed to shift the very air around them, infusing it with an electric charge. "Isabella," he greeted warmly, his voice carrying an unspoken question. She met his gaze, finding solace in its unwavering steadiness. "Elias," she replied, feeling a rush of emotions she couldn't quite name. Their connection had deepened since their first encounter, a bond forged through shared secrets and whispered dreams. Yet even now there remained an element of mystery between them, an allure that both drew them closer and kept them on edge. "I've learned something," Isabella confided, her heart pounding with equal parts excitement and fear. Elias listened intently as she recounted Lucian's revelation about the ancient ledger hidden within the library. His expression grew thoughtful, shadows flickering across his features like clouds passing over moonlight. "Do you trust him?" he asked finally. Isabella considered this for a moment before answering truthfully. "I trust that he knows more than he lets on," she admitted, "and I believe he wants us to find this book." Elias nodded slowly, absorbing her words with characteristic intensity. "Then we should begin our search together," he suggested, offering his hand as if sealing a pact. Without hesitation, or perhaps despite it, Isabella accepted his gesture. Their fingers intertwined like vines seeking sunlight amidst darkness. Together they ventured deeper into the library's heart, a world where time seemed suspended, amid dust motes dancing lazily through shafts of golden light. Each step brought them closer to uncovering not only Luminara's secrets, but also their own intertwined destinies. As they moved through shadowed corridors lined with towering shelves groaning under centuries' weighty knowledge, Isabella felt an undeniable sense of purpose, a certainty that whatever lay ahead would shape their lives irrevocably. And so they pressed onward, two souls bound by fate's unseen threads, in search of truth hidden beneath layers upon layers woven intricately into Luminara itself. The afternoon sun cast long, languid shadows across Luminara's cobblestone streets, painting the city in hues of gold and amber. Isabella walked with purpose, her steps echoing softly in the quiet alleyways. The air was thick with the scent of salt and jasmine, an intoxicating blend that seemed to whisper secrets of the sea and the earth. Her destination was the old library, a place as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. Today, however, something felt different, a subtle shift in the air, a tingling anticipation that set her senses on edge. As she pushed open the heavy oak doors, the creak sounded like a sigh from the depths of time itself. Inside, the library was a sanctuary of stillness, its labyrinthine corridors lined with towering shelves that reached towards the vaulted ceiling. Dust motes danced in the shafts of sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the worn wooden floors. Isabella inhaled deeply, savoring the comforting aroma of aged parchment and leather bindings. She made her way to her usual alcove, a secluded nook nestled beneath an arched window. The table there was already laden with books, some bound in rich dark leather, others delicate collections of loose pages tied with twine. Yet today, her focus was not on the tomes, but on the figure seated across from her. Elias sat with his back to the window, his face partially obscured by shadows. His fingers moved deftly over a sketchbook, capturing lines and shapes with an artist's precision. There was a quiet intensity about him, as if he were communing with something unseen. "You're early," Isabella remarked, settling into her chair. Her voice was soft but carried an undercurrent of warmth. He glanced up, a faint smile playing on his lips. "The light is perfect right now," he replied, gesturing to the way it illuminated the room. "It brings out the magic in everything." Isabella nodded, understanding all too well. In Luminara, magic was woven into the very fabric of reality, a delicate thread that shimmered just beneath the surface. They fell into a comfortable silence, each absorbed in their respective worlds. For Isabella, it was the words on the pages before her. For Elias, the images taking shape under his hand. Yet there was an unspoken connection between them, a shared awareness that transcended mere conversation. After some time, Elias spoke again, his tone thoughtful. "Do you ever wonder about the stories these books hold? The lives they've touched?" Isabella looked up from her reading, meeting his gaze. "Every day," she admitted. "It's like each book is a doorway to another world, another life." He nodded, closing his sketchbook with a gentle thud. "And what about your story, Isabella? Do you ever think about how it fits into all this?" She hesitated, caught off guard by the question. Her story was one she rarely shared, filled with shadows and echoes of a past that lingered like a specter at her shoulder. "I suppose I do," she said finally. "But sometimes it feels like I'm just a character in someone else's tale." Elias leaned forward, his expression earnest. "We all are in a way, but that doesn't mean we can't write our own chapters." His words struck a chord within her, a reminder that even amidst Luminara's mysteries and magic, she had agency over her own destiny. "Perhaps," she mused aloud, "but some chapters are harder to write than others." He reached across the table, his hand brushing lightly against hers. The contact was electric, a spark that ignited something deep within her. "Then let me help you," he offered. "Together we can unravel whatever mysteries lie ahead." There was sincerity in his voice, a promise that resonated in the space between them. Isabella felt a warmth spreading through her chest, easing some of the weight she carried. Their moment was interrupted by a sudden rustle from behind one of the shelves. Both turned to see Lucian Thorne emerging from the shadows, his presence as enigmatic as ever. "Ah, young love," he remarked with a bemused smile. It has a luminescence all its own. Isabella straightened in her seat, blush coloring her cheeks. Lucian's arrival was both unexpected and oddly fitting, his timing impeccable as always. "What brings you here today?" she asked, attempting to steer the conversation away from herself and Elias. Lucian chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "I could ask you the same thing," he replied cryptically. "But perhaps it is fate that has drawn us together at this moment." Elias raised an eyebrow, intrigued by Lucian's usual riddles. "And what does fate have in store for us today?" The bookseller's expression turned serious, though his gaze remained inscrutable. "There are whispers of change in Luminara," he said slowly. "Forces gathering beneath the surface that may alter our course." Isabella felt a chill run down her spine, an echo of something she couldn't quite grasp. She exchanged a glance with Elias, sensing his curiosity mirrored her own. Lucian continued, his voice low and resonant. "You too are part of this tapestry now, threads woven into a pattern yet to be revealed." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air, a reminder that their journey was far from over. "What should we do?" Isabella asked quietly. Lucian smiled enigmatically. "Follow your hearts and trust your instincts," he advised. "The answers you seek are closer than you think." With that, he turned and disappeared into the maze of shelves, leaving them to ponder his cryptic counsel. Elias looked at Isabella, his eyes reflecting both determination and uncertainty. "Are you ready for whatever comes next?" She nodded slowly, feeling a newfound resolve take root within her. "Together," she echoed his earlier sentiment. As they rose from their seats and made their way out of the library's embrace, Isabella couldn't shake the feeling that their story was only just beginning, that love's luminescence would guide them through whatever darkness lay ahead. The sun had begun its descent towards the horizon by the time they stepped back onto Luminara's winding streets. Shadows lengthened around them as they walked side by side. Two souls bound by destiny amidst a city alive with magic and mystery. And though uncertainty loomed large on their path forward, Isabella knew one thing for certain. They would face it together, hand in hand against whatever challenges awaited beyond Luminara's enchanted borders.